Howdy, gang. Chris Angel coming at you with another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. So you can see in the text of this post, obviously, that there is a quote from Gandhi that says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And this just resonated with me the other day because I realized that for a lot of us, look, I'm talking to you if you have important work in the world, right? Like that there's some level of the work you do that makes an impact in the world. Like that's important, that the work you do goes beyond yourself and reaches out into somebody else's life and makes an impact, right? And for those of us that have important work, the challenge is that when we do muster the courage to go live on Facebook, or we do create a podcast or a show and we begin to share our message, what often happens is crickets. Right? We hear nothing. We get no engagement. We're like, does anybody hear? Does anybody even care? And not only that, but then we look at the amount of people who come through that content into our business, because, I'm talking to you as a business people, and we're like, I needed results yesterday and I want clients to sign up tomorrow. And so we have this, not only an expectation, but this need for people to be in our business and bringing cash into the business so that we can continue to do the work that we feel is important. And when you, like I said, muster that courage to go out into the world and do that important work, and it's met with crickets, it's met with silence, it's met with a dismal participation, then what happens is we start to go in our head. We start to question ourselves. We start to question the work we're up to. Like, I thought this was important work, but nobody's engaging it. Was I wrong? How long do I have to keep doing this work before somebody gets it, before somebody checks in, before somebody engages? And so you're in that first stage of Gandhi's quote, right? You're in that first stage of like, they ignore you. They're ignoring you. Not because your message isn't necessarily important, right? But because your message is new, coming from you, it's new. Like, what do they care? You're just one more person on a soapbox saying something that like everybody else is saying. And so why should I listen to you? Why should I care? You're going to burn out in a month, in a year, in 5 years, and you won't be around to see it through. So why should I listen to you? I mean, look, guys, that's what change makers throughout history have faced that. You're either going to stick it out and stick it through, or you're not going to make it. And so there is this commitment level. There's this determination required if what you're really after is not just another sale, but actually after impact. If what you're trying to create is a movement, if what you're trying to create is lasting transformation in the lives of others, and you're there to tell the world that you will not be silenced, that your work is important, then this is what you sign up for. This is what you sign up for. You know, right now, at the time of this recording, my Facebook Live videos will get somewhere between 100 and 200 views. That's it, like 100 to 200 views. That's not near the reach that I intend to have. That's not near the reach I intend to have in this world. And it's been that way for a year, maybe more. You can go back through all of my Facebook Lives beyond this show, even beyond Marketing for the Rest of Us, and you could just go see, like, most of my views are 100 to 200 views. But I get that that's part of this journey. Part of this journey is I just keep showing up with my message. And at first, I'm clear that they ignore me. I've been teaching for a long time now the tribal concept, like this tribal thing. Like, people are attracted to who you are, and that's why they choose to do business with you. And when I teach this, especially inside of like real estate circles, people laugh at me. They think if I don't talk about real estate, nobody's actually going to use me. How will they know I'm a real estate agent? It's like they want to believe, but they think it's ludicrous. They laugh. They're like, no, that can't work. That's not going to work. But I just keep sharing. Why? Because it's my truth. It's what I've seen to be true. It's what I know in my gut. It's what I know in my soul I'm supposed to share. I'm supposed to share ways for you to be authentic and empowered inside of who you are and share your message for marketing and for your business, but for the transformation of others in a way that feels authentic to who you are. That's my message. I get that. And at first people think, whatever, one more person on Facebook. And then people laugh at it like, oh, that's cute. Like, you're just going to talk about, being authentic and being transparent, and that's really going to bring business. Okay, that's cute. And then they laugh at me, right? And then as I keep going, I would imagine at some point I'll meet resistance. Yes, not just laughing at me, but people might actually resist it. But I know on the other side of that is the transformation of people. And so I want to bring into this conversation the problems that we face, those of us who want to make an impact in the world. Here are the problems we face, right? The first one is that, again, once you muster the courage to share your message consistently, and not like every now and then, and not inconsistently, but once you choose to show up, the first problem that you have is this doubt that comes in, like nobody's engaging. I'm met with silence. And so you start to waver in your commitment. And you waver in that commitment because you're not fully clear on why you're doing it. I heard years ago from Jim Rohn, when I first got into real estate, when I first got into business, I rolled around town with Jim Rohn, a cassette in my car, and I would just play it over and over again. And Jim Rohn would say, if you have a big enough why, you'll endure any how to get there. If you have a big enough why, you'll endure any how to get there. That always stuck with me. And what I'm clear about is that finding your why can be hard. It's a very abstract conversation. And when you're not clear on why you're doing it, the transformative work you're doing in the world, then it's easy to waver. It's easy to just not show up today. This is the 41st episode I've done in a row. I think I've done a couple double headers. So this is like 40 days in a row. I've gone live in this show called Marketing for the Rest of Us. And it's a new commitment I've made. It's a new commitment that I've made that for at least the next year, maybe 2 years, every day I go live inside this show called Marketing for the Rest of Us to help those of you that want to relate to marketing in a way that feels empowering and not like you're lost in the world of SEO and social platform algorithms, etc. Like there is a way for us to connect with our tribe and our end user in a way that feels good to us, in a way that impacts them. But I'm clear on my why. I'm clear why I'm doing it. So when I'm met with criticism, when I'm met with resistance, when I'm met with no engagement, doesn't matter because I'm clear about my why. See, on the other side of you not being clear on your why, on the other side of you having doubt, what's possible is that you actually could care more than anybody else and stick it out. And so what happens is over time, a year, 2 years in, they actually see that you're for real. So many people are just waiting to see if you're for real. Like, is this just like a one-time thing, or are you going to stick it out? The second problem that I think comes up is that I think if we get very honest about important work, we're scared. I've been scared. I still have moments where I'm scared. But I think the second problem that really stops our momentum or stops us from showing up is that we're scared. We're scared of pain. We're scared of people ridiculing us, outcasting us. We're scared of being judged. I think we're scared of the risk, right? There are investments you're going to have to make, financial investments, time investments, relationship investments. There are relationships you're going to have to end. There are people that are going to get hurt because that's just the nature of you doing important work, right? People will come alongside of you in your important work, and then there'll be a time when that might not be a good fit anymore for your important work. And you're going to have to say goodbye to that relationship, and it might hurt their feelings. And so there's risk involved in that. Yes, there's risk that you're going to hurt somebody or you're going to be hurt when it's important work. And I think the other thing inside of that fear is that I think sometimes we're afraid of what it would require of us. Listen, a year and a half ago when I started our marketing agency, right, Groundswell Agency, I had been coaching for 7 years. And as I was coaching clients one-on-one, what I noticed was that they bought in on relationship-based marketing, and they loved the idea of it, but they didn't like the technology of it, and they always seemed to be too busy to actually implement what I was teaching. Right now, that's a whole other coaching conversation, right? But what I had moment, right? The voice, if you will, the God, the universe, this gut intuition that was, Chris, you need to do this for them. Like, you need to do what you're teaching them to do. You need to do it for them. Because everybody I was coaching has important work in the world. And if their important work is really going to get out in the world, we don't have time for them to wait. We don't have time to wait for them to figure out the technology. You need to go help them get that work out in the world. And so I started the agency reluctantly. 2 years ago, I had this prompting, or 2 years from that time, I had this prompting that I should do it. And I withdrew. I pulled back. I didn't want to do it. I did not want to create an agency. Coaching is a very cushy job. Yes. There's no overhead. It's just hours for dollars. There's not a lot to manage. There's no people to manage. So to step into an agency where there's not just people to manage, there are mechanics and fulfillment and things that have to get out in the world. I resisted. I was like Jonah, right? Who ran from the calling, if you will. I was like, I don't want to do it. That was 2 years from the time I started. And then as it came up a year and a half ago, I couldn't deny that this is the right thing to do. And I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what it would look like. I was concerned that it would require more of me than I was willing to give, right? And so that second problem of fear, I was scared that starting an agency was going to require more of me than I was willing to give. And for a lot of you, like me, your fear is holding you back from the transformation you're here to make. You're really here to make an impact and to make a difference, but you haven't counted the cost. You haven't gone deep enough into what it's going to require of you. And so you, like me, are withholding all of your talents and your gifts to really make that difference. You haven't gone all in. You haven't gone all in. You're still like, you have an exit strategy. You've got a back door that you could get out of. Some of you are like working multiple jobs because that's your backup strategy. You know in your soul, you know in your heart of hearts that you have a difference to make, that you have, and I don't mean with 10 people, I mean with like thousands of people, you have an impact to make. And yet you are sitting there like with your exit strategy, your back door if this doesn't work. And that's because you're scared. That's because there's fear in it. You're afraid of the risk. You're afraid of what it will require of you. I know. I've been there. I'm not even saying I'm past that. I'm saying like that is for some of us a daily thing. That is a daily recommitting to, right? On a daily basis, we get to recommit to what it is we're here to do. In the face of, first they ignore you, in the face of people ignoring you, in the face of people laughing at you, in the face of people fighting you, resisting you. But again, that takes us back to the first piece, which is if you're not clear enough about your why, then you will abandon the call. Okay, here's the third problem that I think we're bumping up against is that in the middle of all that, right? We're not sure that we have what it takes. We're not sure, like, who am I? Who am I, God, to lead this movement? Who am I to champion people to share their important work in the world? Who am I to unlock people's gifts and talents in the space of marketing so that their message could actually be heard? And then what we do is we look at our own evidence, the evidence we've collected in our life about like how much impact we've made or what results we've produced. And you're like, I don't have any results. How can I lead people to produce results when I don't feel like my results count? They don't count. They're not good enough. And so we doubt ourselves. We doubt that we have what it takes to make the impact. And this is, guys, this is completely subjective because it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually matter what results you have. They'll never be good enough in your mind to lead other people. And so then when you realize that, you realize like, okay, well then that measure is an inappropriate measure to decide whether you lead the charge or not. Because it's never going to be good enough for you. So you just have to go lead. You can't wait to lead your movement until you have enough results or good enough results, because that just won't happen. It's a moving target. And so what's on the other side of you not having what it takes, or on the other side of you thinking you don't have what it takes? Can you imagine a life where you show up to work and that's not even a part of the conversation? It's not about whether you have what it takes. It's who are we here to help today? Who am I going to inspire today? And you stop judging your own criteria for leading, and you just start looking for who there is to serve. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and Lachelle, I don't know if you're watching this, but Lachelle was doing a breakout session, and she gave this great example of, if there was a disaster, like the building behind us had collapsed or something went off, and people were hurt, we would all rush out and we would go check to see if people were okay. Without regard for our own safety, we'd be like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And we would be checking out with people, and there would be no time to think about your own results. Like, I'm not a doctor. I can't ask these people if they're okay. What criteria do I have to see if they need help or not? In the middle of people's trauma, we don't stop to consider, like, do I have the credentials? We just go help people. And I think sometimes it's easy in this day and age to miss the importance of, to miss the drama of what's actually going on. We don't even count, not only do we not count the cost for ourselves, but we don't even count the cost for those we're trying to help. We're just like, it's okay. They'll make it. Like, look, in marketing, I'm like, if I just pulled back and I'm like, it's okay. They'll find somebody else to teach them about marketing. Their life isn't that bad. They'll figure out something else. And I don't actually get clear about, like, look, you as an entrepreneur that has important work in the world are betting your life on things. And if you don't get your message out, you're going to look back at the age of 80 or 90 and be like, I could have made a difference, but I let my fear and my excuses and my distractions get in the way of the work I was here to do. And if I don't count the cost for you, then the flip side is like, I'm not invested, right? Or I don't get the severity of what is at stake. There are no stakes. Guys, when there's no stakes at play, then we just kind of coast through life. If you're not clear on the stakes for you and you're not clear on the stakes for the people you're trying to serve, then you just show up sort of like half-assed. You're just kind of like, you check in and you check out, and it may not really matter. But on the other side of you actually counting the cost, and what happens is you end up having that X factor that takes you past these problems and into a place where people move through the ignoring you, laughing at you, fighting you until you win. Like, you move to the place where you know you can actually produce the result you want to produce, that you can create the transformation in the world you're here to create. Most of us don't know ourselves that way yet, but that's what's possible. What's possible on the other side of these problems, as you show up consistently over and over and over again, is that you come to know yourself as the person who can produce the result in the world that you're here to produce. And that no matter the resistance or no matter who laughs, it rolls off your back because it's not even the game you're playing. You're not playing the game called approval. You're playing the game called transformation. So it doesn't matter what people say to you. Can you imagine a life where that's the case? That's the truth. It doesn't matter if you fail. It doesn't matter if people laugh. It doesn't matter if people outcast you from the group, because that's not why you're playing the game. That's what's possible on the other side of these problems. When we get out of ourselves and into the work we're here to do, this is what becomes possible. And I think when you live from that place, what happens is you get to know yourself in the truest sense of who you are as an empowered human being, right? As a child of God, as a person who is here with a soul that rises above all of the stuff that humanity in its grossest form seems to agitate. We get to rise above that and know that we're not judged by those criteria, right? We rise above all of that and we play our own game. We don't play the game of others. We play our own game in service of those we're here to serve, right? In service of humanity. And all of that, guys, all of that starts with marketing. In this, if you have important work to do and you're in business, then you have to start to let your message out. And you've got to do it in a way that isn't contingent on what kind of engagement you get, because at first they ignore you. Or whether you have trolls because then they laugh at you. Or whether you've been banned from Facebook because then they fight you. on the other side of all of that, guys, on the other side of all of it, where you are clear about the stakes and you're clear about your why, you stick it out, and in the end, you win. Not just for yourselves and your lives and your dreams and your goals and the life you see possible for yourself, you win. But you also win because the people you're here to serve get freed up from the things they've been wrestling with that you're here to set them free from. That all starts with marketing, because marketing, as I've said before, is you simply creating relationship and connection through your message. Your message can't be about your product. Your message is about humanity, and your product might be a way you have an income stream from that. But your message here with important work as a business person to transform people's lives is about relationship and the bigger message, right? So here's what there is to do today. Go start to count the cost. Get very clear about your why and the stakes in play for you and the stakes in play for the people you're trying to serve. Because if you're not clear on that, you won't stick it out. You'll just quit. When they're quiet, or when they laugh at you, or when they fight you, you'll just quit. And then if you quit, looking back on your life at 80 and 90 years old, you'll feel like you were here for a purpose that you didn't fulfill. So that's it for today, gang. That was heavy. Wow. But listen, how many of us are going through life in our marketing like as if we're like playing a little game? Like, it doesn't really matter. Why should I go to Facebook Live today? Does it really matter? I don't care. I guess I just won't. Marketing's, listen, it doesn't need to be heavy, but it also doesn't need to be light, right? It doesn't need to be like marketing doesn't matter. Like, marketing matters. It's everything. Marketing is your ability to scale your message to as many people that you're trying to serve as possible. So it does matter. Okay, thanks for hanging out with me. Wow, we went to church today, didn't we? Okay, well, I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Until then, I'd love to circle back and see what you guys have to say in the comments. Thanks for spending time with me. Love you very much. See ya.